news in the Middle East, the biggest and deadliest flare-up between Israel and the Palestinian militants in years. A stunning and surprising attack countered by Israeli forces has seen bloodshed on both sides. There are also reports of Israeli civilians and soldiers being held hostage. It began at dawn with Hamas militants firing thousands of rockets into Israel from Gaza. At least 40 Israelis have been confirmed killed and hundreds more wounded. Hamas also says it launched attacks using motorized paragliders, while on the ground video shows them gaining access to Israeli communities by blowing up border fences. Israel launched a series of airstrikes on Gaza. Palestinian officials say almost 200 people have been killed there, and Israel's prime minister says his country is now on a war footing.
Citizens of Israel, we are at war, not in an operation or in rounds, but at war. I have ordered an extensive mobilization of reserves and that we return fire of a magnitude that the enemy has not known. The enemy will pay an unprecedented price.
Reporter Iris Mackler is monitoring the latest developments for us, and she joins us from Jerusalem. Iris, good to have you. Can you bring us up to speed? What is the latest on the situation on the ground, both in Israel and Gaza?
What we've heard from the Israeli military is a confirmation just in the last couple of minutes, first of an increase in the number of Israeli casualties, now more than 100 dead and around 1,000 wounded, mostly in the south, in fact, all of them in the south of the country near the Gaza border. There have been Israeli airstrikes, nearly 200 Palestinians killed in those airstrikes, something like 1,600 wounded on the last figures that I saw. The Israeli military, for the first time, has confirmed that there are Israeli hostages in the Gaza Strip, both civilian and military. They don't give a number. Hamas has said it has more than 50 Israelis, has taken them captive and taken them back into the Gaza Strip. There are still now, almost 12 hours after this barrage of rockets began in the morning, there are still now gunfights going on with the Palestinian militants who infiltrated into the south of Israel, still controlling certain sections of villages, still fighting now with Israeli soldiers. Previously, it was just with the people who lived in those villages. But still, the Israeli military says that there are 22 ongoing gun battles. It's believed that there are 4 locations where these gun battles are taking place. And Israel has opened, Israeli media that have an open wave on their radio at the moment. And what you hear is people ringing in and saying, please help us, please. You know, we are stuck under the ground. Some people are whispering because they say that there are Palestinian militants above them. Other people say they can't breathe because the Palestinian militants are now burning the house above them. So that's just to give you a flavour of the chaos of the day on the Israeli side of the border and the deaths that are starting to mount on the Palestinian side.
Your assessment, what is Hamas trying to achieve here?
We've heard from the Hamas military spokesman, someone you don't often hear from, Mohammed Deif, and he said that he's calling on other Palestinians to join. I think they want a large operation. They want to make it worth their while, so that they are calling on Palestinians in the West Bank, inside Israel, Lebanese and Palestinians in Lebanon to join in this fight. We heard from Salah al-Haruri, who was freed in a previous Gaza prisoner swap some years ago now. He is no longer based in Gaza, but he's very significant to this fight, and he says everything's going according to plan, which implies that what they really wanted is the hostages. He was released under that prisoner swap. I think what they're aiming for and what his statement leads us to see is that they want to take hostages. They want to take the more than 50 hostages they say they've taken so that they can negotiate for the Palestinians held in Israeli jails to be freed as Salah al-Haruri was freed.
Iris, Israel is known for its highly sophisticated defense system, highly sophisticated intelligence, surveillance. So how did this happen? How did Israel get caught off guard like this?
That's the question that I am seeing increasingly being asked here. because it's plain it is what has happened. Not only that there was no intel, it was the shock of it meant there was a very slow military response. How is it that 12 hours later, Israel still hasn't taken control of areas within its sovereign area, that it controls in theory, but now Palestinian militants control them? And so now what we see is people on Twitter, on the radio, saying, where is the military? What has happened here? So you can see there was an intelligence failure. There also was some kind of other military failure because they didn't secure the fence. The only way these people were able to take hostages and take them into Gaza, if that's what did happen, is because the fence wasn't secured. And once they broke in, they were then able to go back. So all these questions are being asked, and you do definitely see an intelligence failure, and also, I think, a surprise, a military shock that meant that Israel's military response has been slow.
Freelance journalist Iris Mackler in Jerusalem, thank you so much.
Thanks, Natasha.
The Prime Minister has reacted on social media, saying Canada strongly condemns the current terrorist attacks against Israel. These acts of violence are completely unacceptable. We stand with Israel and fully support its right to defend itself. Our thoughts are with everyone affected by this. Civilian life must be protected. The leader of the opposition also posted on social media, I unequivocally condemn the invasion of Israel by Hamas terrorists and the sadistic violence they have subsequently carried out against innocent civilians. Israel has the right to defend itself against these attacks and respond against the attackers. Canadians pledge their solidarity with all victims. So for more on this, CBC News has reached out to Global Affairs. We are still waiting for a response from the federal government on that. But we want to also turn to Israel's ambassador-designate to Canada, Ido Moed. Ambassador-designate, thank you so much for making time for us.
Hello, good morning.
Ambassador-designate, can I begin by asking you, what is the latest you're hearing about the people who have been taken hostage in Israel?
Just to start, what we are facing the last 12 hours is unimaginable, almost horrendous, murderous attack perpetrated by a Hamas terrorist organization against innocent civilians, children that have been kidnapped from their beds on a Saturday morning. It's really very hard to grasp exactly the magnitude of what is taking place right now, but as the reporter just mentioned, the numbers are staggering. You can just imagine what would happen on Thanksgiving Day here in Canada, in Toronto, Montreal, if all of a sudden 7 o'clock in the morning, everybody had to run to shelters for their lives because of terrorists penetrated their homes. So at this moment, as was also reported earlier, the IDF is fighting on all fronts, on all areas where there are presence of Hamas terrorists. Of course, you hold Hamas accountable for this. They are the sovereign in the Gaza Strip, and this operation was initiated without any pretext. Widespread, indiscriminate firing of rockets, and as you've seen, the numbers of casualties are staggering.
Ambassador-designate, how did this happen? You heard our conversation with Iris Mackler in Jerusalem. Israel's known for the Iron Dome, for having this incredible amount of intelligence and surveillance and defense system. How did they get caught off guard like this? All systems are almost perfect, though have some flaws here and there. And of course, everything will be checked. And in the aftermath, a lot of questions will be asked. But what we should really focus our attention on right now is that this murderous attack is continuing. The firing of rockets, the taking hostage of innocent people, of a lot of them. We don't know the exact numbers. The fact that children, women, elderly have been taken into the Gaza Strip, kidnapped into the Gaza Strip, that is where we should all look at, because this is actually the source for continued military operation. And we welcome the Canadian reaction and the fact that, of course, Israel has the right to defend itself, as was also recognized. But we should really focus all our attention right now on the
murderous attacks of Hamas against Israel.
Well, we've heard from the Israeli Prime Minister saying that this is war and Israel has been attacked and they will retaliate. But are things going to escalate before they settle down? And how bad do you think it's going to get?
That's a very important question. It's a key question. If we look at Hamas, we know that behind Hamas, there is the Ayatollah regime in Iran that supports them, that feeds them, that supplies them with technology and arms, and that they are linked also to other terrorist organizations in the region. Of course, our eyes are also focused on other areas, and the concern for further escalation is definitely there.
Have you been in touch with any of your colleagues in Israel? We're reaching you in Ottawa, if I'm not mistaken. What are you hearing from your colleagues and even your friends back home?
I'll tell you in a second, but I think it's important also for our viewers to know the tremendous reaction we get from the Canadian community, from colleagues, from friends, from people beyond, from the Jewish community, but elsewhere, people we don't know, and all of a sudden reach out and show their support and solidarity. This is really heartwarming. And we call on Canadians to support Israel at this moment because this is really necessary. Back home, people are concerned. Everybody is woke up early morning in Israel to this attack, and everybody is concerned. But everything, all the systems, all the emergency systems are operating, and the military and everything else. And I'm sure that within a very short period of time, Israel will regain control. And hopefully also the situation will stabilize and people will be returned to their homes, and we can perhaps resume a more peaceful time. I must stress that Israel has done a lot also in the last few months to alleviate the livelihood of people in the Gaza Strip, and specific efforts were made to make it possible for more people to work in Israel, for the provision of cash money for the population, for the needy, for the transit of goods, and all of that with the hope that that will support an improvement in the livelihood conditions for the people in Gaza. And unfortunately, of course, this will most probably stop at this moment.
I know it's been 50 years, sir, since the last time Israel was caught off guard like this, in what are referred to as the Yom Kippur War. And then again, this is now being referred to as Netanyahu's Yom Kippur War. And we're in this crisis yet again, year after year, flare-up after flare-up. How does this come to a resolution? We, on our side, will continue to fight the terrorists and the people who send them with our most fiercest tools and weapons. And at the same time, also reach out to the population. The population of Gaza are not enemies. They are people, and we see them as neighbors. And we will hope, and will continue to hope, to create better conditions also for them to have a better future. But as long as they are under the control of Hamas, who is the sovereign power in the Gaza Strip, their future looks very bleak, and that's very unfortunate. We can do what we can from our side, provide energy and water and the transition of goods and all the services that Israel is providing. And we will continue when the time comes, when the right time comes, we will continue to do that, the same as we do with the Palestinian population elsewhere. But that is our goal. This is our mission. The mission of Israel is to provide peace and stability in the region. And unfortunately, our enemies take this as a sign of weakness, and time and again try to attack us. They will not prevail. They will not prevail against Israel because Israel is strong and will continue to be strong, and we will find a way to fight ourselves out of these horrible times, and hopefully with minimal number of casualties on all sides. That is our hope. Ida Moed is Israel's ambassador designate to Canada. Thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you.